walked by. I think a tall angel just walked by. I think a tall angel just walked by. I think a tall angel just walked by. There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul.
So one thing I will say before this video, the Wingsung 3000 range and the Wingsung 600 range are made by two different companies that go by the name Wingsung. It's very, very misleading, but it really explains the large gap in prices, and something that always confused me for quite a long time. Some people have done better videos on it than I could ever do, but I was always confused why this pen was only $3 and a very similar Piston fountain pen was $20. So Wingsung and Wingsung, two different brands. I hope you got that.
There goes a sight from my soul.
So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to look at these two pens and pretty much ask the question, should you buy this pen, or is it actually worth spending the extra $17, $18 and actually getting the much more expensive option? Because these pens are so close in terms of, what they offer. They are both Piston fountain pens and they are both ridiculously cheap. It just so happens to be that this pen is ridiculously cheap times 20. Well, this one's just very cheap because, let's be honest, $20 for a Piston fountain pen and $3 for a Piston fountain pen is amazing, considering that the old price you'd pay for a Piston fountain pen until pens such as the TWSBI Eco came out was about $50, pens such as the TWSBI Diamond 580. So to compare these two pens, what we'll talk about is the design, ergonomics, quality of the build, nib quality, and overall writing experience. Then we'll have a quick writing sample and then a little conclusion at the end. So let's jump into the video. So the first thing we'll talk about is the design of these pens. First of all, aesthetics. So if we both look at these pens at face value, you might say that these pens are sort of loosely based on the TWSBI Diamond 580, but they're obviously not complete knockoffs of them. But that doesn't really matter because it is a pretty generic looking pen, the TWSBI 580. But if I was to pick the more aesthetically looking pen, I would say the Wingsung 698. If we look on to functionality, I will say that the functional award, or the design of the functionality, certainly should be awarded to the 698 in terms of piston design. Now what I mean by that is the design of the piston involves this smart locking feature. So if you want to draw the piston up, what you have to do is pull the top off and then you can twist, and then simply just push down and the piston will lock. One thing I don't like about this pen here is the piston is free to turn, and that means it could turn in your pocket, and something that I really don't like is when I go ahead and post this pen, simply post it and you can easily turn the piston up and down with the top on, and I don't like that because if you put it on, you could certainly twist it by accident and then simply have ink running out. So I do think the overall design of the 698 is certainly better designed, at least more well thought out. But one thing I will say is better about this pen is, in terms of actually posting it, this pen does post much better than the 698, though you will have to risk ink leaking out. Now in terms of ergonomics, I will also give the better ergonomic pen to the 698. Reason being is I think that this tapered grip section is a little bit more comfortable to hold, and as well as that, the threads on this pen are a little bit more rounded off and they're not as pronounced. One issue that I had with the Wingsung 3008 was it's not really a step down, but the step down is really just because of the threads. The threads are a little bit sharp and they're very close to where you put your thumb, and after a while they can start to dig in a little bit. But ergonomics are very subjective, and a lot of people say they really do love the feel of the 3008. And I'm not saying the 3008 isn't ergonomic to hold, I just think that the Wingsung 698 is a little bit more comfortable to hold. One thing I will say about this pen is it is a lot more resistant to oils and doesn't really get slippery, which is good for long writing sessions. So the next topic we'll talk about is build quality, and let me say right off the bat that these fountain pens are certainly built to a very high standard. Comparing them to the first and early Jinhaos that I used to get, so the Jinhao 599, Jinhao 601, those pens, the step in quality that these pens have is just amazing. These pens are very high quality compared to them, and just high quality in general, but even though that these pens are both high quality, I will say the extra $17 that you spend will certainly go a long way in terms of quality, because even when you first pick up the Wingsung 698, you can just tell that it is a high quality. The plastic, for instance, is certainly a lot denser, and it's just a high quality plastic, and you can tell that from the weight of this pen. So uncapped, this pen is about 15% heavier, or 2 grams heavier, than the Wingsung 3008, and in the long run you're certainly going to notice that. It is a lot more scratch resistant than the Wingsung 3008, and I really am going to say that if you're planning on using one of these pens for a very long time, certainly get the Wingsung 698. Another thing that I'll say in terms of build quality is the piston. The piston in this Wingsung 698 is 10 times better than the piston you'll find in the Wingsung 3008. The reason being is when you use the piston, there is a lot of play in the knob and lever. You can probably twist it about a third, maybe a quarter, and there will be no movement with the piston at all. But there is absolutely no play with the Wingsung 698, and as well as that, when you're moving the piston on the 3008, it's very sluggish, it's very grippy, it's just, you can tell it's not terribly high quality. Though with the Wingsung 3008, it is a very smooth action, and it feels a lot higher in terms of quality. Another thing that I will say in terms of design and quality is a fault with the Wingsung 3008 that I didn't notice at the time of the review, but the pen, while it may be designed to be around ink, there are certainly some components which they have skimped on just to get the cost of the pen down. So if you look in the cap of this pen, you will see that there is a screw holding the clip and the top of the pen onto the main body of the cap. And that is very common. The same thing is in this Wingsung 698, but in Wingsung 698 and the TWSBI Eco, the screws are made from some sort of stainless steel. In here, it's not stainless steel, and whatever coating they used has started to corrode off, and the screw in here has started to corrode, and it's just starting to rust, and that's just a result of ink leaking into here. Now, I know you're not supposed to have ink in the top of the cap, but even so, it is something that is designed to work right next to ink, and if the components here is rusting, I'm not sure how long this component might last. Like, will it last a year? Will it last 2 years? I'm not sure, but I've only had this about, 4 months now, and if it's starting to rust 4 months in, yeah, there might be an issue with longevity. Another thing that I'll fault the Wingsung 3008 for is just the tolerances. The tolerance for the cap, I said this in my review, but just if you take the cap and just start rocking it, there is a lot of play in the threads, and while it's not the worst thing in the world, you can just tell that it's not the highest quality product. It's not built to the same tolerances to, say, the Wingsung 698, which pretty much has 0 play in it. So let's talk about the nib quality of these pens, and I'm going to do them in two categories. One is everyday writing, and two, how much fun they are to write with. Now, it's very hard to compare these two nibs because they are pretty different nibs. The first nib on the 3008 is a Lamy style nib, and the nib on the Wingsung 698 is a number 5, sort of a pilot copy / clone, and they offer very different writing characteristics. So in terms of everyday writing, I'm actually going to say I prefer the Wingsung 3008. This has an extra fine nib, and is probably one of the best extra fine nibs that I've ever used. It's not as fine as a pilot, but the way that they've ground it is just... I don't know how they have managed to grind it when they are producing these at such a high rate and for pretty much next to nothing. The grinding is just smooth, and I always love using this pen, and it pretty much is better than my Pilot Extra Fine. Everyday writing, I would say, is much more enjoyable to use with the Wingsung 3008. Now, while it may be fun for everyday writing, this is a pretty boring nib to use because there's no flex or anything from this nib. It's just boring, there's no soul to it. And this is where I give the award to the Wingsung 698 because while it may not be as smooth, it is a pretty damn smooth nib, but not as smooth as the 3008, but because it is a pilot style nib, you're able to squeeze a little bit more line variation from this pen, and as well as that, it flexes a little bit more and it's just a bit nicer to write with. If you slow down a little bit and just want to do some nice calligraphy or copperplate, you can certainly squeeze line variation out of it, and you can create some very nice writing with this pen. So another benefit that this pen also has is it's a little bit easier to find replacement nibs because this is a standard number 5 nib. You can probably find a few replacement nibs on eBay. If you want to change the nib, say from a fine nib to maybe a broad nib or an italic or a stub, you can easily find number 5 nibs on eBay or other websites. Welcome to the writing sample for the Wingsung 698 and the Wingsung 3008. So what I'm going to do is just a quick writing sample just to compare the two in everyday writing, then I'll show you how this pen is far superior in terms of flex. So first of all, this is the Wingsung, this is the 3008, which has an extra fine nib. Let's see how this works. So everyday writing, I remember 3008, and you can clearly hear from the writing sample there is pretty much no resistance, there's no scratch to this extra fine nib, and for everyday writing I much prefer to use this. Even on low quality paper that would usually feather like crazy, this pen pretty much will write on that. Very good pen for everyday writing. Now, this is the 698, and it is still a fine nib, and it's still very good for everyday writing, though you can clearly see because it's a little bit wider, it is a little bit wetter, and for very absorbent paper might not be the best option. So quickly, and of course from that writing sample, still very little feedback or anything from the nib, though there is a little bit more resistance than the 3008, and if I was using worse paper it would not be as good. Still very nice nib. However, if you do want to slow down, one of the things that will set this apart from the other pen is pretty much you'll get much better line variation than you will in the Wingsung 3008. Just look at it. Absolutely no line variation at all. But still much more enjoyable to write on with the Wingsung 3008. So, conclusion time. Let's wrap everything up with this video and when to buy each pen. But first, let's just remember that this pen is $20, it's $17 more than this pen, but even though it's $20, it is an absolute bargain for a Piston fountain pen, and this is a bargain. This is a bargain times 10. Just, it's absolutely crazy that they are able to sell this pen for, what is it, $3. So, let's talk about, which pen is the better one, and you can easily tell this is the better pen. It's much better, it's better built. It's more aesthetically pleasing, more ergonomic, you go down the list. So, when would you buy each pen? So let's start with the Wingsung 3008. If you are getting into fountain pens and you don't want to spend much money on a fountain pen and you just want something that's disposable, if you don't like it, you can throw it away, certainly get the Wingsung 3008. As well as that, if you just want a Piston fountain pen just to, test it out, see if you like it or not, certainly get the Wingsung 3008. If you have a large fountain pen collection and you really don't feel like spending a lot of money because you're going to have a lot of fountain pens and you're just going to be using this every now and then, buy the Wingsung 3008. If you're planning on buying a fountain pen and you're going to be using this pen for a long time, you're going to be using it every day as your everyday carry pen, get the Wingsung 698. This pen is more durable and it's much better in terms of build quality, and as a result this pen will last you a lot longer. I do genuinely think that the Piston is going to be much more durable than this pen. It's much more scratch resistant, and in terms of everyday use, it's really nice just to have the feature of a locking, piston, just for, added comfort and everything. One thing I will say as, caveat to all this is a fountain pen that costs $20. Please make sure that you always look after it, because there can be someone that orders maybe 5 of these pens and they can lose each and every one of them, and they will still be better off than the person who loses this pen once. So, sum up, this is a pen that you use every now and then. This is the everyday carry pen, and if you want something better, you can go get a Twisby Eco.